Richards trying to scoot in there alone. It pinballs to the crease.
Let's get it.
Oh my God! Here we go.
You're listening to the Street Bullies podcast with your hosts, Derek.
How you gonna get it, Bobby?
John. Matt Casey.
Unnecessary, but totally necessary.
And Cody.
What's not to love?
Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Street Bullies. My name is Derek.
And I'm John. What's going on, everybody?
Only one of us can really do that, so let's refrain. Joined as always, the Matt. Matt Casey, interrupt us, please.
Hey, how's everything going?
And Hoagie.
Gentlemen, what's going on, boys?
Nothing
Hoagie,
much.
how was your Super Sweet 16?
It was great.
For our loyal viewers, Hoagie got a haircut, and he actually might be 23 years younger than I am. Like this is serious.
I mean, he might actually be 23 years younger than you are.
Be careful, man. You're entering Epstein territory here.
I mean, he hasn't slept with him.
I mean, minus the money. Yeah, I guess you could get. Yeah, you're like Epstein without the money. Oh, that sucks.
So you're just a creepy old guy. Okay.
This is the start. This is a great start, boys.
Hey, before we go any further, happy birthday to the true patriot.
Oh,
Yeah. Happy birthday, Tony D'Angelo.
Might as
I'll
well
never
double
live that
down
one
on
down, will I? I will never live that one down.
it's a joke.
Yeah, some people just didn't get it. Anyways, no, it's typical Pod Street fashion here. We've got a couple games to recap, a couple things to talk about in regards to some benchings that occurred, the press conference with John Tortorella as well. We all want to break down, and then really, I want to talk about a positive. We'll probably get to at the end here, kind of in general, but let's visit the games here real quick. If Hoagie wants to, pull those up on the ticker, because quite frankly, I've forgotten. I'm taking this season one game at a time like the rest of us. Flyers last week did beat the Lightning. Lawton, JVR, Noah Cates each had goals. Noah Cates one was pretty nice. Then they go on to lose to the Panthers 3-4, which, okay, big deal. Then they come back against Nashville, win that game, and then they fall to the Sharks, the lowly Sharks of all teams in this group that we were going to lose to. It was the Sharks.
I mean, in order to fall, though, you need to be standing to begin with.
Yeah, they entered that one. Yeah, not going to get into that. Regardless, general thoughts here from this past week's action, John.
I mean, listen, if you were to tell me that we were going to go 2-2 on this trip and only have one game this season that we look like absolute crap, first of all, I'd call you a liar. I mean, there's no way that I'd think that that's how this team would operate. So, I mean, last night's game was awful, and I do want to spend more time talking about it, but I do think overall, right, I'm generally happy. I mean, we beat a Tampa Bay Lightning team in their home opener, the team that, quite frankly, should have just destroyed us. We were able to hold our own against the Panthers team that has far more skill than we do. We played a really good game against the Nashville Predators, according to you guys, because I was asleep by 7:30.
What a weenie.
I should have said it Friday night, brother.
7 weenie.
I had to tell my kid that I was going outside Saturday morning to clean up squirrel puke in the front lawn because I didn't want to tell her that Daddy yacked when he got out of the Uber.
Yakking all over the place.
Who's damn squirrels?
So I think, like, if you just take away the Sharks game for a minute, like, I'm generally okay and kind of pleased with the week.
No, that's fair. I think that's a fair assumption. I mean, what do you think, Matt Casey?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just more so recency bias that Sharks game was last night and still kind of fresh in our mind. But that Tampa Bay game, not only did we win, but we kept them off the board 5-on-5. They have Stamkos, arguably the best power play, one of the best because of Ovechkin in the game on the power play. And he just lit it up, and it's tough to stop those. But I think the Nashville game, I was like, damn. If we get a lead, if we get a 1-goal lead, I'm like, okay. If we get a 2-goal lead, I like the way that we play from ahead. It's we play pretty lockdown. It's just we all knew this going in. The trick was going to be getting goals. But I'll also say, we're for better or for worse, man. Like Carter Hart has been the MVP, and you'd like to see less in there, but man, he's holding this up and giving us the chance to win in every game that he's playing. On the flip side, I feel awful for poor what's
Felix.
Sandstorm.
As my wife calls him Sandstorm.
Sandstorm.
He's like, oh, let me guess, I get the back-to-back after travel again. How awesome! Like, what a delight this is. But overall, if we're what 4-2 overall,
4-2. Yep.
It's one game at a time.
All 4 wins can be attributed to Carter Hart.
Yep.
Anyways, before we get into that, Hoagie, general consensus from this past week here.
Great start. I mean, these back-to-backs are really going to be killer. It's the first 2 of the season out of some 14, 15, 16. It's something like 16, I think. Yeah, it's like Tortorella said, we're 0 for 2 in these back-to-backs. And you can tell the team on the
Tortorella
ice.
to tell you that, Hoagie.
Listen. But you can just tell the team that's playing in the second half of the back-to-back. It's rough to watch, but I mean, they held their own against Florida, which I was surprised by. I thought they were going to come back and win that game like they had in all the games before that. I'm tired of seeing them play from behind, but once they get that lead, they hammer down and stick with it.
I think it's fair to say we've all been pleasantly surprised with the results so far. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think we're all. I'm kind of waiting for the shoe to drop. I'm waiting for the shoe to drop, though.
It's like San
When it
Jose
drops, it's going to
is
be like
the new
Goliath.
normal.
Yeah.
No, it's at the very least encouraging that they can play up to the competition like Tampa Bay, beat Tampa Bay, and then turn around the very next night and play a pretty competitive game against Florida. Keep them on their toes. Yes, they lost that game, but at the same rate, what have we always talked about since the end of last season? If they're going to be competitive and lose games, let them lose games by a goal. Be competitive, play the game, and not throw out another stinker like they did against the Rangers for how many games straight now. So that's my big takeaway. They beat Nashville. Great. Nashville, let's be honest, they didn't play well. They did not play well at all.
I mean, they're struggling too this year.
But the Flyers ran into them at the right time for them. And then they come out and just completely lay an egg against San Jose, which there's going to be games like that.
But Derek, not only lay an egg, like they looked lost.
Right.
I mean,
they did.
Their neutral zone play, it was like one guy would just pass the puck and then everything just
it was scattered. And if we're being real, like that Florida game, we were lucky to be even within striking distance there. And that last goal came with what? Like 2 seconds left.
9 seconds.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like the amount of odd man rushes that Florida had in that game was like circa 2020. Like that was disturbing. And I think we're just kind of lucky that Sandstrom played decently.
Right.
And that's to Sandstrom's credit. Yes, he's been responsible for the losses so far, the 2 of them. But like he hasn't played terribly. Like on some of the goals, you can clearly tell, maybe there's a couple he'd want back. The one especially, I think it was the not the San Jose game, the Florida game. Absolutely, he wants back. But like the couple, I don't want to call them fluky, but like some that it's like, okay, like what are you supposed to do? Especially against a team like Florida that has a high octane offense. It's tough. But at the same rate, I feel like for the most part, they're putting him in chances to succeed. Like they're giving him chances to succeed, putting him in a place that he can. And I mean, obviously it's early, but I think he'll be all right. I think if he can shoulder the load that he needs to, I'm happy about it.
I think we also offensively, like I agree with everything you said on the goaltending front. Offensively, I just want to see more of a shoot first mentality. We're obviously not getting the most chances out there, but there's been a handful of times where Konecny's let it up, and then on the flip side, like Konechny just fires one at the net and it goes in. I think just more guys need to get it on net and with more frequency. And I'm not a big like shot total because like a shot from the blue line, it is not the same quality shot as one from the dots, and so
sure.
I think there just needs to be a little bit more of a shoot first mentality. And even last night, like we had chances, like Lawton had a breakaway, Frost had a breakaway. There were like a handful of like chances in there that, man, you just got to bury because we're not going to be getting a lot of those.
Right. Well, and it's like when I was watching the game last night, I was thinking, when it looks like your best chances are coming from guys who just can't finish the play, like Big Stick Nick and McEwen, like there were a few just like really pretty plays until it came to the shot. And we're like, oh God. Like, that's Hoagie's beer league level right there. Like, what is happening?
Yeah, the positives at the very least from this past week that we can take is that we're starting to see where the goals are likely going to be coming from. You're getting Konechny on the score sheet, and as much as it'll pain a lot of people to, stomach here, JVR is scoring goals.
Wow.
Not
anymore, but
another one bites the dust.
Yeah.
And another one.
Here we go.
And another one.
I mean, wasn't that amazing? Like in the Florida game, they were just like, "Oh my God, Florida, you're without Aaron Ekblad." I'm like, "Bitch, like we are missing like our top forward line and our top, two of our top four defensemen. Like, don't preach that. Like,
boo hoo."
Listen, them losing Ekblad helped us in a way, but I mean, it's still not to the same. Course that we're running.
No, yeah. Well, one of their defensemen was playing like their first NHL game, and didn't he have or no?
Sure, he had a
goal.
Montour
that scored. Yeah, probably. That's just how it worked.
I think
when they're spending the entire game in the offensive zone, do you really need defensemen?
Right.
Yeah, but like I'll tell you what, and I'm surprised John hasn't brought this up yet, but that goal by Noah Cates against Tampa.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We already talked about it.
The effort. Effort on that goal. That was
fantastic. You hear like coaches, and I'm sure they've said it about Noah Cates. It's like, oh, he's got a motor. And I've like never really like visualized what that meant, and like that's exactly what that meant.
Until you watch him, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just amazing effort, sticking with it, getting your stick in the passing lanes, breaking them up, and then you find yourself in a position where you can fire a shot on net with a high quality shot. And you make it, great, especially past a guy like Vasilevsky.
Right. It's amazing where it was too, right in the middle of the dots. Like that rarely happens to get the puck right there on a turnover.
I mean, to me, he's the epitome of a John Tortorella guy.
Yep.
I mean, he is going to be someone who is always in that coach's good graces. He's not going to be benched for a period.
Interesting you say that.
Shall we disagree?
We could. We get to what John had just alluded to. A couple benchings.
The stars. Could we by
our terms?
By our
Flyers terms.
Flyer terms.
Third period hit against San Jose, and two players, Travis Konechny and Kevin Hayes, did not see the ice for a single second that period. And I think it's funny in terms of, I shouldn't say I think it's funny, but in the presser, Tortorella said, hey, we're going to address it in the locker room. That's that. So face value here, the benchings themselves will go backwards this way. Hoagie, how do you take that?
I didn't watch much of the game last night. I'll be honest here. But I'm glad he's pointing out the big boys on the roster, as in the Travis Konechny and the Kevin Hayes. Because, if you do it to a Zach McEwen, it's not that – you can't really take it at face value. But when you do it to a Travis Konechny or a Kevin Hayes, that means anybody on that roster can be benched. Even D'Angelo, he didn't see much ice time in the third period as well. I liked how Tortorella handled it in the post-game interview were handling it in the room, because once you start throwing names out there, it diminishes the point you're trying. Yeah, it diminishes the point that you're trying to make in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like an AV, he just threw guys' names out there left and right, didn't care who
It's called
he
a
hit.
Hot's fault again.
Right. Like I'm glad it happened. I'm glad it's happening this early in the season, because it kind of means something now. It means that
Sure. No, you're right. I agree with you. What do you think, Casey?
Casey, are you
Casey?
there?
Casey's on mute. We can't hear
I
Matt
think
Casey. Oh my God, there he is.
I think it was clearly everyone was playing like crap last night, and Hayes and Konechny certainly were playing like crap, but I don't think they were playing any worse than a handful of other people. And so I think Hoagie's right. It was a message to the younger guys, but a message to them. But it was also, I also think it was a challenge to some of the younger guys, being like, you can't just rely on, the two guys who you think you're gonna score. I think it's like, come on, Wade, come on, Noah, come on, Morgan. Like, you guys need to be the ones to step up, because you guys need to be the man at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yep, fair point. What do you think, John?
I've kind of gone back and forth with this, and it's almost like I have to wait to give my last judgment on it until I see what Thursday looks like. Because there is part of me that's kind of like, was this a little premature? I just feel like you're looking at two players that have, we have what Hayes has put up the most points, right? And then you have Konechny, who's the second most points. And yes, we're having a bad game, but the entire team was. So there is a part of me that's like, I don't know. I just feel like after one hiccup with these two, was it necessarily necessary to do this? But if it works, I'm all for it. I'm just worried that it might have the another effect, because if you look at Kevin Hayes' media availability at the end, the dude looked like he saw a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
He just
actually did too.
Yeah, but he seemed a little bit more receptive to it. So I don't know. I'm not quite ready to kind of just be like, yep, this is John Tortorella sending a message. I'm fully on board with it, because part of me can't help but go, maybe this was a little too soon. This team is outperforming anybody's expectations. Even with that loss, we're 4-2, and these two players have played a major role in that.
I like the way he handled it. I think that not going to the press in that press conference right after the game saying, Hayes this, TK that, like, I think it's a good approach. Handle it in the room, do what you need to do internally. There's no need for us to, know everything and every part of the business, that's going on.
But it's still very public, though. They were still benched for a period.
Yeah, like
it's noticeable.
Yeah, like you can read between the lines. Like, you can guess pretty much as to why they were benched. Now, having said that, it's an interesting approach to do it this early, especially when the Flyers weren't really out of that game. Like, there was still plenty of time to win that game. And who are the two guys on the team that you would expect to contribute as part of a comeback potential victory? Right. Kevin Hayes, Travis Konechny. Take that for what it's worth, given that it's the Flyers. But regardless, those are two catalysts that could help spark this team to a win, and they're sitting on the bench for 20 minutes at the very end of the game. I'm not going to sit here and, play, Monday morning head coach here, but it might not be the smartest move if you want to win the game. But in a season that we're supposed to be, figuring things out, getting back to the norm, and establishing a culture with this team, I don't know. I'm much with you, John. Like, I'm kind of on the fence about the way and the timing of the message that Tortorella is trying to send here.
Right. And also, like, we aren't privy to the conversations that they're having, in the locker room ahead of time. Regardless of how well, if well's the word you want to use, Kevin Hayes, or productive Kevin Hayes and Travis Konechny have been, like, I think we can all agree they haven't been the most defensively responsible sound people on the ice. Where, if if there has been all these conversations and Tortorella keeps preaching this one thing and they're still not doing it, I understand the benching a little bit more, but I just can't help but be like, I don't know. Again, we're 4-2. We're doing much better than anybody expected. It just
It'd be
seems
a different story
premature.
if we were 2-4. Like if we were 1-5, and it's like you're going to bench that guy. Like, okay, clearly something's not working. We're not winning games. We're not playing the way that Tortorella wants us to play. Benching somebody seems like the right call.
Point, it had been working.
Yeah, and to kind of mix with that, like I don't know. Again, the timing of it is what gets me because 4-2 right now, clearly overachieving. And two of your best players are on the bench for the last 20 minutes in a very winnable game. So I don't know. I mean, Casey, I know you missed the majority of this, but do you have any more thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'd rather have him do it now and set this, not to preach the gospel here, but set the standard now, because what you don't want is for this to be happening in February and March. And, if I still don't think we'll make a playoff, but if we're pushing to be competitive in March, like that's overachieving. You don't want to be sending a message now or sending a message then. So I still think overall it's like we knew it was coming. We knew it was going to come at some point in time. And how are these guys going to react to it? And I think that's going to be the biggest X factor. And when I was walking out, I heard John mention how he was interested to see how they came out on Thursday. And I agree with him. There's no excuses on Thursday. Like, yes, you have injured guys and so much, but like you're home, you've had 3 days rest. You should have had a fire lit under your ass. Like, I think we're going to see the result of this on Thursday.
So I have a question.
Presumably getting Ristolainen back too. I mean, that's a possibility, I should say.
Hopefully.
Not sure about Atkinson.
I heard Tippett might be on his way back.
Tippett too, yeah.
Yeah. So you're getting some firepower back there,
which we need. God damn, do we need it?
Yeah, we do. I'm okay with Sealer or Zamula taking a game.
Hold on to Nick Sealer, man.
Sealer, like, good for him.
You need somebody like that.
Yeah, I'm not completely. Let me clarify.
An NHL guy.
Not completely against Sealer. Like I'll clarify that, but like in terms of if I'm going to choose Ristolainen or Sealer, I'm taking Ristolainen.
Well, I think it's more Zamula.
Yeah, it's going to be Sealer versus Zamula.
But if they see something in Zamula, who knows?
Can I ask a question, please?
Not yet. I'm not done talking.
Well, wait, you're the host.
Wait your turn.
You only ask questions. That's what you do.
No, that is
and you only answer.
I have no contract. I'm a freelancer.
So I want to go back to that standard thing for a second, because if Tortorella is setting the standard at, I don't care how well you've played up to this point. If you have a hiccup on a back-to-back off of a brutal road trip, I'm going to bench your ass. Is that standard too high? I don't know. I just think that, like, I think there's a fine line between, like, setting high expectations and setting them too high. And, like, at some point, we were going to have a game like this. This team is not skilled, right? And I just feel like, are you setting the standard too high by saying...
what they have, you call skills.
Right. Because now what is it? So is it every time that we have a game like this, someone's going to be riding the pine for a full period? Like, I don't know. I worry... And again, this was a question, so I want everybody else to have a chance on this.
But like a question at this point,
hold on, I ask questions here according to you.
Is it setting the standard too high at this juncture?
I personally don't think so. I think he looked at the way. Again, I don't think it was an individual play that either of them made. I think he saw both of them playing like crap, and then holistically the team playing like crap and knowing that they are the quote unquote leaders of that team. Sure. Like, okay, this is the moment. I would have been really interested to see what he did if that was a 1-1 game going into the third period. Like, would he still have done that? I doubt it, but I think he just saw that, like, after that goal was disallowed, that would have made it 1-0. I think, like
1-0. Yep.
And was that the first or the second? I can't even remember at this point, but like
I want to say the second.
It was the second
once
period.
that happened, the wind just came out of the sails and the team it went into the oh, poor us kind of
Right.
thing. Like JVR got knocked out, and all signs are indicating he's going to be out for a bit. And goal didn't go our way, poor us. And I think like that is the standard that I think we've had in the last 2 years, and arguably even prior to that. Like it's going to take a bit, but that's got to end. And I think that's what he was trying to go for.
Right.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Hoagie?
I don't think it's too high. I think it could get higher, but like we've said,
Can you
I'd
give an
rather-
example? I'm not trying to poke fun. I'm
No,
legit
no.
curious what you mean.
I think it get higher by these guys not seeing a game. They're riding up in the press box. That I feel like that's the next step from here.
But do you think that they did anything prior to this game? Like
No, I was
you know what I mean? Like before this
Yeah.
game, it would have been crazy for him to bench them.
right. Yeah, and I think it was just the play on the ice for them to get benched
Right.
because he even said in the post game there's opportunities for these players to shoot instead of pass, and they decided to make a different play.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wants these players to seize the opportunities and to shoot more. Like we said during the game recaps, like we want more shots, and instead we're going back to like the Giroux Voracek era where we're just gonna make a billion passes and not create any offensive threat at all.
Yeah, I mean, we can barely get into the zone. Stop making passes.
Right.
Right.
Like at least somebody get into the zone and just go from there. See what happens.
I mean, in defense of Tortorella, he's probably seeing something we're not seeing, obviously.
Right.
So you got to trust his judgment on that.
Sure.
Like he's already bought more favors with me than Vino
buying
has
you?
when he
Yeah.
was
what's
there.
behind you?
So it's like I trust that what he saw was indicative of why he did that.
right.
So, having said that, is there harsher messages that could be made? Sure. Will they be made? Probably.
Mhm.
Was it the right message at the right time? Don't know.
He's got
couldn't tell
Hayes
you.
with a machete in the middle of the ice.
Right? It's like,
We
who was
don't
it that
need
made
these
that
flex.
comment from the Phillies? Who was the Philly that made that comment? It's different than when we're playing in the Dominican when people are watching with machetes.
Who said that?
It was somebody, I can't remember the guy's name, but it was I think it was game 4. He made that
boy.
comment in post game. And they
But-
quick cut away.
Here's the thing from a standard standpoint, like, Konechny and Hayes are on the pedestal, and we'll, put stars in quote unquote. They're the closest thing we got to stars
Sure.
at this point in the
Yeah,
forward
right.
group. But you are seeing worse. You are seeing a standard hit. Jackson Cates, he's gone. Lisinski,
Yep.
he's probably going to be gone.
Yep.
Not gone, but he's going to be sent back down
Right.
to the minors. Like,
Hayden
I would.
Hodgson.
Hodgson is a prime example. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also like, I still think that Frost time, like he's got to show up and do something a little more this week as well before he starts getting benched and seeing the press box too. So I don't know. I do think it is, but I think like for these guys, it's like the embarrassment factor of like, oh, this is what happens here.
Sure.
The other guys, it's like they're almost. I mean, sadly, like we still have expendable bottom 6 forwards. We're still
Right.
flush with them.
That's
I mean,
old.
yeah,
Um,
for real.
So
Plug
I don't know.
them in, plug them in.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
Right. No, I think it's fair to question it, obviously, but I think that this, for better or worse, this seems to be the approach that Tortorella is going to be taking with the guys' play, how they're doing things, because he probably saw something, whether it was in that Sharks game or it was throughout that week, that he didn't like, and that was his way of sending the message to them and to the rest of the team, for that matter.
You think Chuck was going in and going, listen, I'm all for it. You're not allowed to bench Sandy. Not allowed to bench Sandy.
That would be
a
a PR disaster.
It'll
Paid
happen.
for that fella. No.
It'll
I
happen.
can't tell if it's
guaranteed.
I can't tell if it's good or bad, but I have not noticed Sanheim at all. And like,
I mean, he's
maybe
been
I'm
all
just
right
thinking
defensively.
offensively.
Just
think
no
so.
offense.
Like there's no offense, and like, isn't that kind of what we're paying for? Like, we're not paying this guy $6.5
What are we
million for a
paying
stay-at-home defenseman.
Well,
No.
listen, he's playing with old man Braun. He can't just skate up the ice and expect somebody to help him out. He's got to stay back a little bit. So
Braun
doesn't
was
get busted.
cycling the other night. Braun was cycling the other night. He was getting involved in the offense.
But if
It
you're
was
going to get
great.
paid $6 million to play defense, like it's in the name of the position, defenseman. Like play defense.
But here's
Maybe
the
I'm
thing.
old school in that thought, but like play the position.
So in
Yeah.
a season and a half when Ristolainen is healthy, I love when they were showing everybody's injuries and it's like Ristolainen, undisclosed injury. I'm like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, the Atkinson one is the scariest
That's
for me.
concerning.
Yep.
Mm.
There's no timeline, right?
No timeline
No.
there. I mean, I think let's throw the wager on now. Who do we see first, Couturier or Atkinson? I would have to say Couturier.
At this
I don't
point,
know.
probably. He's skating, right?
I
He's
don't wanna
skating
play
and
this
traveling with the team, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to play this game.
Yeah, it's Couturier.
I don't want
Throw my money down.
Pass.
Ryan Ellis.
Hard pass. Did anybody? So I'm going to take a second to vent quick. Did anybody see that the meme or whatever, like Jason Momoa on the red carpet, like who's like behind a guy, like stalking him, and it's like Flyers are 4-2, and then they label Jason Momoa like Ristolainen's returning. I'm like, dude, could you be a bigger asshole? Like, come on. I'll admit, yeah, like that meme itself is funny. You could put that to any context, but like, oh no, Ristolainen's coming back. We have to play him over Igor Zamula, who hasn't done shit to this point. Like, is that the worst thing in the world? Like, come on.
No. I you guys know that I'm a big Ristolainen lover. Like, I think he's. I like him. I like what he brings to the lineup. Like, is he a dope? Sometimes, yeah. But like, let's hope that the coaching applies to him. And if he keeps botching, if he screws up, like, what was the message that was sent last night? They're not above benching somebody.
Yep.
So,
Still makes bad. Still make bad.
Sealer's netting goals every couple games. So,
Speaking of venting, and I'm sorry to do this to go
You
off,
don't really
guys,
grind
Pod
my
Street pop
gears.
off.
but we're-
Yeah, we might have to bring the pop off back.
but freaking intermissions, Amy DeFool or whatever her name is, she's like clearly reading the teleprompter for like questions to Heartsy.
Teleprompter.
It's like, Scott, what did you think about the first period?
Pass to Al. Al, look awkwardly. Oh, damn it. I'm not supposed to read the note.
Whoa.
I miss Taryn.
What's her real name? Because I know I got it wrong.
Amy
Amy
Fadul.
Oh,
Fadul.
Fadul. All right. I was just
Fadul.
Ah,
Oh, boy.
Fadul.
Her and Tony D are BFFs.
Speaking of Tony D, did you hear what Hartnell said during one of the intermissions?
What, who?
Hartnell called Tony D'Angelo
True, very true.
like that, but like he
Nope, that was me.
compared him to Cale Makar and like and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, it's there, but he's not Cale Makar. Like, Cale Makar is on a different level here.
Noah Cates,
What?
Mike Richards, we're set.
Yeah. Right?
He said it, and Amy and Al
Tanner
were like,
Lashinsky, Mario
don't say it, don't say it,
Lemieux.
don't say it.
Amy was Googling who Cale Makar was. That's all
Yeah,
that was.
that too.
Did you hear it was one of the national broadcasts? I think it was the second game of the year where someone literally stated Travis Sanheim and Mark Howe in like the same breath. And I'm like,
Oh,
what? And then it was, I think it was
Chuck paid
Keith,
him.
No, it was
Yep.
Keith Jones was like, I don't think so. Just deadpan. No, I don't think so.
I love when Keith Jones
that's
gets in there and just proves them all wrong.
Bobby Orr. It was Bobby Orr. It wasn't Mark Howe. It was Bobby Orr.
Oh, that's right. I
He said,
do.
Travis
I
said,
do
look at
remember
Bobby Orr. And Keith Jones is like, no, I don't think so.
and then be like, oh, I haven't seen a power forward in Kevin Hayes since Eric Lindros. It's like, whoa. You can't be
I
saying
would
that.
shoot that
Listen, the
person.
Flyers have been bad, but
Come on. Oh, boy.
I want to go positive for 1 second here. I
That's not what
think
we're about
Farabee. I think Farabee actually, you saw it a bit in the Florida game, and then he really stepped up in the Nashville game, and so it's good to see him round into form a little bit more.
Right.
Sure.
So hopefully that's better things to come there. And then I'll
He's
also
getting
say
back to
that.
it.
Yeah, and I'll also say that I think Provorov and Tony have been
Provorov.
solid.
Provolone.
I like
Yep.
them.
Provolone.
Provolone. That's. I mean, you got to put the Italian.
Provolone and mozzarella.
I've seen flyer shirts with provolone on the back and a 9, like even before he made the roster. I'm like,
You're so cool.
what the hell is this?
I like the pairing. I think they have great chemistry.
I think it's great.
Yeah,
You put a
they've-
guy like Tony D with Provorov. I mean, you saw it for 4 games with Ryan Ellis, and then you saw it with Niskin. Put him
I
with a
would
good
love-
partner, he'll be good.
I want them to do like, remember leading into the Winter Classic, they did those documentary things. Like, I want one just following Provorov, those two, and like you force them to like roam together on the road.
Oh my
Oh,
god!
Like a
Have it be like a
makeshift
real world.
Step Brothers.
Why'd you
So
hang your
D'Angelo.
socks up?
Hey, Provi, watch this rally. Watch this rally from Florida.
It's the Cold War all over again.
Bro, come over. We're having some rigatoni. Oh man.
Anyway,
No,
they've been
it's-
good. They've been good.
Yeah. No, great pairing so far, at least. But what we want to get into here real quick, at least on Hoagie's list, we want to talk about the presser with Tortorella after the game. I'm not very privy to exactly what was said, so I'm going to kind of let Hoagie lead this one because this was a talking point on his end.
Oh boy.
Good decision or bad decision, we'll
As the
see.
guy who didn't watch the game last night, Hoagie, like this is your segment.
I was on the timeline.
All right,
I
Hoagie.
mean, he was. Yeah, you want me to get my stone and tablet? No.
You gonna read the teleprompter?
Yeah. without
Hoagie the fool.
oh boy, without naming names, he was naming names in the press conference, and I liked it. And he just pretty much every question he got, he just said, "We stunk. This game was awful. We stunk. We stunk. We stunk."
Mm-hmm.
We haven't had somebody be that forthcoming like that in a while. At least with AV and Mike Yo, like it was just like
We know what we
beating
got to
around the
do.
bush.
We need to just execute.
yeah, like
we
we
got
know what we
Brown.
We
are.
just need the pucks to fall our way.
I'd argue that AV was forthcoming, but in the absolute wrong way. Like
Right.
he would just berate his goaltender. Carter
But
Hart
that- but, like,
screwed
that-
it for us.
That's all he would do.
It was so clear. I mean, the press conference last night, at least what I saw, it was under 3 minutes. Like
Yep.
he was
It was
in and
quick.
out of there.
Yeah.
And it was so clear that he was just like, I know what you guys are going to ask. Like, don't even bother. Like, that
Right.
was his like mentality. And you're like, good for you, man. Like, it's okay to be. I'm glad he's pissed after a loss. I'm
Right.
glad.
Right.
Like, and hopefully that translates. Like, you know, a losing culture is being like, no, I think we played really well. It's like, no, we sucked. We sucked
Right.
last night. And
Tell it how it is.
it like, you know, he didn't bring this up, but it's like, what a great day in Philadelphia sports yesterday was. And then it was like thrown with like a big like turd bomb on top of a, you know, cherry of an ice cream sundae with that game. And so
Right. We were thrown
you know.
to the geriatric shark. It's got like 2 teeth.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's very nice to see a fresh. It's a change of pace when it comes to a head coach being just completely not satisfied with the performance of the team. You're not getting the run around the bush. You're not getting the, you know, goalie didn't play well. Like,
You
no,
don't run around the bush.
Yeah.
Casey.
I thought you said rub around the bush.
Rub?
What is happening here?
Definitely rubs.
calm down there, buddy.
Casey's Googling
We're all
it.
married. I
You
know how
know,
hard it is to come by, but regardless, no, it's refreshing because Tortorella is going to tell you how it is. He's going to tell you exactly how he feels, and he's going to answer your questions before you even ask him. So, I mean, that's fantastic.
One of the things that I like, and it goes back to that whole standard mumbo jumbo, was he was like, we have to play better in back-to-backs. He's like, back-to-backs are hard, but everybody's got them. We've got 16 of them. And in order to, in order to be a professional and succeed in this league, you need to be able to play well in a back-to-back.
Yep.
The league did us zero favors, and I don't want to make excuses because yes, everybody has them, but there's a difference with a back-to-back versus a back-to-back with travel. And
Right.
I think yes, San Jose had a back-to-back, but they played a matinee 50 minutes away from Philadelphia.
Yep.
Like they played in Jersey.
We get in at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, we were in at 3 a.m. and then it's like, oh, turn it around, guys. So like, it's an excuse. I get it, but like, if you have 2 home games back to back, that is a completely different ball game. And so, like, if we start losing those with regularity, that's when I'm like, okay, that's bad.
But one of the things that I liked that Tortorella said was he even mentioned we got in at 3:00 in the morning. We have to be able to alter our game and simplify it.
Yep.
So we set ourselves up for success. Like, he flat out was like, we're not going to play the same way that we would on a normal night under this circumstance. You have to be willing to change things. And I think that was the big problem, right? I just don't think that he felt like this team was willing to deviate from how they've been playing in a clearly different circumstance.
Well, in your mind, I mean, let's say we're all part of the team. Like, you're winning, so that way that you're playing has given you a modicum of success. How prone are you to want to change how you play? Because if you think that way is conducive to winning and you want to play it on the tail end of a back-to-back, are you going to acquiesce? I mean,
well, my guess is that was probably a conversation that the coach had with them and was like, as the coach kind of instructing them to play a certain way. And we've had that conversation over and over again, right? I mean, you need to be able to listen to the coach. And if you're not, then we'll start calling you Claude. Yeah, I said it.
Come on now.
The bench.
Eat my ass. No, I think you bring up a good point there. The team's got to be versatile, especially with that many back-to-backs, playing that simple game on the tail end of it. But also, I mean, I don't know, maybe I disagree a little bit because, again, if they've been successful to this point, why not? I mean, because look at it. You're not playing another game until Thursday night. You got plenty of time to recoup. You got plenty of time to rest up.
That doesn't mean you have the energy to begin with.
Yeah, you don't have the energy.
Okay, and that's fair, and I agree. But
no, it's not fair. It's correct.
No, it's fair. I'm going to say it's fair. It's fair. So, but at the same rate, when you've won 4 out of your 5 games to that point,
sure.
Tell me as a player, are you going to be willing to, again, acquiesce to what Tortorella has to say, or are you going to try to push him and just say, listen, I can play this style of game on a second night of a back-to-back. Like, we can do this. Aren't you going to give a little bit of pushback, respectfully, obviously, but be like, hey, no, Hoagie.
I'm sorry, this team has no leg to stand on, even if they're 3 or 4-1 or whatever.
I'm not talking like a full-out mutiny, like a Claude
Giroux
type.
I know you're
it's not even that.
I know you're not.
They're not going to have the energy, first of all. 2, they've been going balls to the wall for 5 games straight. That 6th game in a back-to-back where they travel, you need to take it easy and just conserve the energy for the 3rd period like we've had all during that success.
But you do that, and then you end up with Kevin Hayes and Travis Konechny on the bench for that 3rd period.
Because they played a different style of game.
And I'm betting what happened is that they played that style and it led to a goal. Like that. That is what that's what I'm betting happened. Now, here's where the rub is. Let's see if we can rub. Is
rub around the bush.
What Tortorella had been preaching is like, I'm not in, who am I to tell these guys with these talent that's much better than I, like what they can and can't do. So I think there's like a fine line of like, here is the structure I want you to play versus like, I don't want you to make creative offensive plays, which he does want them to do.
Right.
And so I think there's like, I can see the mixed messaging there, but I think once that second goal happened last night, he saw nothing out of the team that was good.
Right, and maybe that message doesn't come like before the game going, hey, let's dial it back, right? But maybe he sees something after the first period. He's like, listen, what we've been doing isn't going to work tonight. Like, and when a coach makes that, sends that message as a team, you do have to listen.
Sure. I'm just saying, like, in that scenario, if it's a decision that was made prior to the game.
He's just like, not in Dorchester, you don't.
But is there not some sort of respectful discourse where a leader like Scott Lawton, maybe Hayes or Konechny, it doesn't matter, talks to Tortorella in his office away from everybody else so that they're not creating a scene in the middle of the locker room where he's like, hey, listen, I appreciate where you're coming from, but here's what I think. That's a respectful discourse. And I feel like you can have that. Okay, fair.
You know what I mean? They clearly weren't the problem.
Yeah, but again, like I think that's the type of culture you want to harbor, because you want that respectful discourse where it's not like, Giroux or whoever it was. Again, this is just throwing names out there from the old regime, just saying whatever, I don't care. I'm not going to listen to this guy. There's again, for lack of another word, there's a discourse. There's discussions happening, and it's positive, and it's not just this guy going rogue, that guy going rogue. It's like, hey, let's talk about this, because again, at the end of the day, players on the ice are the ones playing the game. The coach is just there to try to make sure that the structure's right, make sure the plays are running, and everything's good.
I still think there was, looking at it face value, which is valid that like those two players got benched. I still think there was a big reverse psychology element to it, that the rest of the team was playing terrible, and he was using that to light a fire under the rest of the team.
There absolutely was.
That's why I'm interested to see about Thursday.
Yeah. So I think that's what and it's like, okay, if you want to be a team like, the two, Hayes and Konechny, they clearly didn't deliver. The young guys who got to play the third period, they didn't deliver either. So like, that becomes all right, Thursday, let's show everybody that we're not this bunch of schleps who lost to the 1-6 Sharks. Meanwhile, the Sharks also beat the Rangers. Like that was their other win. So like they're not totally dismal. But so I don't know. I think if you're gonna do it game 6. Fine. Don't do it game 74, So
it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
I think
I
feel like you do expect a bag skate sometime this week after yesterday's performance.
With that long of a layoff, sure, plenty of time to recover. Plenty of time to punish the guys for their performance against San Jose. The one thing I did want to touch on real quick here before the end of the episode is, at least from what I've been seeing, and I'm sure you guys can add to this also, we're seeing a team where last year losses snowballed. We had how many 10-game losing streaks? Like 3 separate in one season. We're seeing, and again, 6 games in.
In our defense, one with a 12 game. So
sure, yeah.
Thanks, Casey.
That's fair. But
Here we go.
the way that we're seeing this team bounce back from losses, to me, is encouraging. We saw them bounce back from their loss against Florida, and they came out, played Nashville, played really well. We're about to see how they bounce back from a loss against San Jose, against their only other loss, Florida. So it's, in my mind, again, this is more just a conversation. I don't really have any questions, but like, it's encouraging to see that they're not letting these losses get them down and essentially building on them and just, not taking we lost, like, that sucks. They're like, I'm pissed off that we lost. I don't want to do that again.
Well, I think that, and we've said this already about something else, but let's see Thursday, because I feel like after this game Sunday, the team has actually been presented, I think, with their first dose of adversity. Right. This was a game that they looked terrible against a poor competition, and their two best players were benched. Right. So now let's see if they're able to bounce back on Thursday. If they are, then I'm all about continuing to have this conversation, but I'm not incredibly optimistic about it, everybody.
Not either. I mean, look at the schedule they've got. I mean, it's 2 games, but you got Florida, you got Carolina, like 2 pretty damn good teams.
And then next week you have Rangers and Toronto back to back and travel, and
then Ottawa.
Awesome.
A couple days later.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Giroux's gonna score freaking 4 goals.
Oh. Oh boy. How do you think that reception is going to be?
Is it at Wells Fargo?
It's at Ottawa.
It's in Ottawa.
Never mind.
No, it's at Ottawa.
Yeah.
Sam Carchidi still on to write up a whole freaking blog about it.
Right.
Oh, don't go bullying.
Claude Giroux scores hat trick in first game against Flyers as an Ottawa Senator.
Back to your original statement, Derek. I also think this team has sort of, not accidentally, but sort of unassumingly gotten a taste of success. Like they've won some games that they weren't expected to win. Right now that Vancouver win doesn't look all that hot because Vancouver is a hot mess. But you beat Tampa Bay, you beat Tampa Bay, you beat Nashville. Those are 2 really, really solid teams. I don't care what anyone says, and on that particular night we won. And so I think like this team has gotten a taste of success, and it's like, okay, if you want to you want to win, but at the same time, like I really hope they get the taste of hating to lose, and I think that's what we're going to see on Thursday. Do they really hate to lose? So
Agreed. Anything to add to that, Hoagie?
Biggest difference compared to this Thursday versus Wednesday? Carter Hart. He's going to be in net.
It's true.
I
See
mean,
how Carter does.
nothing against Sandstrom. He's just he's not it.
The man's responsible for 2 losses, and they're the only 2 losses we have this season. I don't like him. I'm kidding.
Right. Well, I'd also argue though that like that game last night was kind of the games that Carter Hart just lost control of last season too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it would have been interesting to see how he would have performed. I mean, he's been far better this year than he was at any point last year, but you know,
just has to let 2 in and let it roll.
But it's not sustainable, guys. The Corsi for this team, the expected goals against this team.
Shut the hell up.
It's just not sustainable with the way the rest of the team is playing.
Or the
underlying numbers.
Underlying numbers. Shut the
Corsi,
front door.
Corsi doesn't account for Hart.
Balls and snot and grit and yeah. Anyways, well, there's our dig for the week. But anything else to add to the discussion before we wrap things up here, gentlemen?
I don't think so. I think we said it all.
Still excited to watch Flyers hockey though. So another week.
Yeah.
Still in the game, you know.
We haven't had that conversation yet. What are we going to do the rest of the year?
That conversation we had very frequently last season, right before the went live.
November 13th.
Are you kidding me? John wanted to have it like before the season started almost.
We were struggling. It was dark times on the Pod Street Bullies.
Speaking of things that came from dark times, Hoagie, do you have another stupid joke?
Why are you taking my shtick? Do you just want to host from here on out?
No, I just want to get out of here.
Are you tired, Papa?
Yeah,
Papa
I'm
John?
sleepy. I'm sleepy.
You need your warm milk.
I had a tough day off today.
Oh, you poor thing. No sympathy, you jackass.
I don't need your sympathy.
So I just got an award for being the most secretive person in the office. I can't tell you how much that means to me.
Boo. Boo.
A tough way to start the week, guys.
Boo. Ugh,
I'll give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Oh, that was.
I like it.
It was all right.
No.
Just all right.
No.
Nothing more, nothing less.
I'll take it.
I don't like it at all.
All right. Well, take this time also to tell everybody where they're going to find you, Hoagie.
Pod Street Hose on that Bird app.
Oh, good God.
Yeah.
Sorry, it couldn't get any worse because it does that.
The Bird app.
How long were you preparing to say that, Hoagie?
Someone said it the other day. I was like, "Ooh, I like that one."
He's like in the bathroom on that Bird app. On that Bird app. On that Bird app.
After I got my fresh haircut.
Fuck.
Before John slings any more insults, Casey.
Pod Street Casey on that Bird app.
All right, John.
Yep.
Part where you're good at talking, so
you can find this podcast on all your various podcast listening receptacles. If you're not happy with what you got, Google it. Bye now. What was that little?
Wow.
Yeah, that was quick. Good. You can find John on that Bird app at Pod Street Gove. You can find me on that Bird app at Pod Street Bob. You can find all 4 of us on that Bird app at Pod ST Bullies.
That bird cyanide.
Alka-Seltzer. Check out our affiliates as well. You can find Flyers High and Wide on Twitter at FlyersHW. You can find the 5 Minute Major podcast on Twitter at 5 Min Major Pod. And check out the Hockey Focus on Twitter at the Hockey Focus. That's it. Another game Thursday. That's it. Bye.